that we will have the same sort of structure that we followed in the last semester. What did we follow in the last semester? I discussed 3 units in the classroom, and 2 units I asked you to prepare. Now, in this units, in the 3 units which I am going to discuss with you, I'll tell you those 3 units. Am I audible? Please respond in between with the chat box. Yeah, if not, write something on this chat box so that I can able to understand that I am now. There's a problem with my audio. If there is any disturbance, please write it in the chat box so that I can able to know that it is whether it is going. And even if you start your videos, there's no problem in it. No problem in it. If you start your if your network is comfortable, you can on your videos also. No problem with it. Now, let me tell you one thing that yeah, if my voice is breaking in between, friend, then the issue is with your network. So please be in the full-fledged network so that you can easily get the things done. Now, I think again there are 15 students, 3 left, only 12 are here. So let us handle this situation. The first day of online, and you may have some problems with your your network coverage. Okay, so we have 5 units overall for this paper, and this year I'm going to deal with paper called literary theory with you. And in this literary theory, because this is the foundation paper, this is paper number. Go with 8. We have studied 8 paper last time. 9, 10. It's paper number 11. It is paper number 11, and it is called as a literary theory. In the third semester, this paper is called as literary theory. In fourth semester, there is going to be critical theory. So there is absolute change in both the nomenclature of this paper. Now, in literary theory, we are going to have 5 units. And in these 5 units, as we did it in the last semester, I am going to deal with 3 units with you in the class, and rest of the 2 units you have to prepare, one for presentation and one for test. The test we are going to conduct it on the same platform online, and presentation also we are going to have online on this same platform, that you are going to speak of everything on this particular platform with your presentation. So which are the 3 texts I am teaching you? We have 5 texts in all for this paper. First one, unit 1, is Aristotle's Poetics. Unit 2 is Sir Philip Sidney's An Apology for Poetry. Unit 3, William Wordsworth's A Preface to Lyrical Ballads. Unit 4, I.A. Richards' Two Uses of Language. Unit 5, Northrop Frye, Archetypes of Language. These are the 5 different units that we are going to study in this classroom. Now, out of these 5 units, I'm going to deal with 3 units: Aristotle's Poetics, Sir Philip Sidney's Apology for Poetry, and third one, Northrop Frye's Archetypes of Literature. That means rest of the 2 essays, 2 texts: one, William Wordsworth's Preface to Lyrical Ballads, and number 2, I. Richards' Two Uses of Language. These 2 essays you have to prepare for your test and presentation. Now this is almost on you. Now if you understand that this these two topics, William Wordsworth's preface to lyrical ballads and I. Richards' two uses of language. These two essays you have to prepare for your presentation and for your test. Now it is up to you to decide amongst yourself that which essay you are going to prepare for presentation and which essay you are going to prepare for your test. That's your choice. Choose any one of it. Why I am saying so? Because the last examination which we faced, the fourth semester examination, which the student of second year passed out just now, these students have given online examination. And in these online examinations, there are multiple choice questions for 50 marks. And the students, they appeared for this multiple choice question online and they got marks out of 50. And in our routine pattern, what we used to do, that 20 marks are given for internal assessment, 10 for your presentation, 10 for your test. Those 20 marks have been converted into 50. And this conversion of 50, that means if a student has got 10 marks out of 20, then he'll get 25 out of 50. And whatever he has scored in his multiple choice, for example, he has scored 40, that 40 marks and this 25 makes it 65. In that way, the calculation of marks have been done by the examination unit and the students received that type of mark sheets and degrees after this examination. So probably the same pattern will be repeated because access to uh, we don't have access to the hostels right now. The hostels are in control with the administration, district administration, and that's why no student is allowed to stay in the hostel, and that's why we can't start with offline examination or offline classrooms on the campus. And that's why you have to prepare for this multiple choice examination. A multiple choice examination on one hand is easy, on other hand it is difficult. Remember one thing, why I'm saying it is easy and it is difficult, because if you have a close study of the text, minute study of the text, then and then it is possible for you to attempt this particular examination. Otherwise, if you don't study the text minutely, by saying minutely, my friends, examiner can ask you any line, any concept, any idea of that particular text. That's why it is very much important, essential for all of us to have a minute study of the text. Otherwise, what will happen that if you don't study it very closely or minutely, you may not able to score very well because there is a no chance of writing anything. You have to tick one of the options, and whether that option will be right or wrong, that's your that we don't know because it is going to assess by the machine afterwards. The teachers are not assessing the papers, the machine is assessing the paper, and that's why it is difficult. There's no chance for uh, re-evaluation, rechecking, because everything is been online, so it will be little bit difficult. So my humble suggestion and request to all of the students that please be prepared for this minute study and please be prepared for the way that you are going to attempt the examination. That's why choose the text that I have given to you. I have offered you that the two texts which are for your study, for your assignment and test, decide it amongst yourself and let me know afterwards that which text you have prepared for test and which text you have kept for your presentation. Now, this is what before starting of the class I have to say to all of you that this is how we are going to deal with. Now, if some of your friends are not able to join this classroom, because I come to know that some of the students they are in Yemen. So if it is allowed for them to join, if it is allowed for them to have a live joining in this class, it will be okay. Otherwise, this app is recording the whole lecture, and afterwards we will upload this lecture, or either I'll upload this lecture on YouTube, or either I'll upload this lecture on your mail ID which is provided by you to the department, and even I am having your mail IDs. So I will paste that link on the mail ID so that the student can able to access it. So don't worry that if you don't able to access the things, if your friends are not able to access the things comfortably in the live classroom. Now let me come to the first unit. And before beginning with Aristotle's Poetics, uh, some of you may respond to me that what you did in this whole lockdown, whether you have accessed the syllabus, whether you have accessed the whole curriculum, or have you gone through the text, what exactly you did. May I get some reply from the students? Yeah, Prashant? Yeah, Zulfiqar, please. Okay. Okay, you have gone through the first paper fiction. Yeah, what about this, the text for your syllabus, essays? Have you accessed the essays? You have accessed those essays? Have you gone through the essays? Okay. What about Prashant? Okay. 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 And what about the girls? Mufarra, yeah, Noor, have you accessed the syllabus? Have you read something? Is there any response from the girls? Okay. 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 And what about the rest of the students? At least you can speak here. You are not speaking in the classroom. Now you can at least speak here on the mic. Okay. Now let me begin with because only Yamini has downloaded, I think, that text, and we are waiting for rest of the things to take place. Now let me begin with the first very important difference between the two things. Most of us may have some queries in mind that what is the difference between literary theory and critical theory? Why there are two different papers where you are going to read essays written by all these essayists or critics, you may say. And why you are calling this as a foundational paper, foundation paper of postgraduate class? Now, please understand one important fact about this particular paper, this literary theory and critical theory. Literary theory carries those essays which are written by those critics who are dealing with literary texts, literary understanding of particular genre. And critical theories, they are interdisciplinary theories where you will have access, where you are understanding the whole notion of a particular discipline. This, whatever essays we are right now reading, whatever essays we are going to discuss, those essays, let me tell you that those essays which we are going to discuss today, those essays are of all these literary critics who talked about certain literary text or certain literary genre. And they are part of, you can say, humanism, early humanism. The first and foremost thing to understand is of these texts. Why we have chosen essays only, not the whole complete text of that particular critique. We have chosen essays. We have chosen the whole particular, this essay, you can say that this is a complete text in itself. Aristotle's Poetics, which we are going to begin with, as you know it very well, and it is very well acclaimed writer or critique, that Aristotle, who is known for his writings not only in literature, but his writings for political science, his writings for zoology and botany, his writings for history, so many things Aristotle wrote during his tenure. Now, going with this particular book, text, Poetics. Now, let me begin with a particular lineage in Greek whole domain of knowledge. Now, if you see very minute, in European understanding, Greek literature and Greek culture was supposed to be the most advanced in its social development. Greek society used democracy first time in the whole European history. And Greek society is having a complete lineage of the scholars, of which Aristotle was one of the parts of it. Aristotle was disciple of Plato. Plato was disciple of Sophocles, Socrates. That means Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. And Aristotle's disciple was Alexander the Great, who decided to conquer the world, and rest of the things you know it in the history. Now, if you see this, whatever questions, queries these philosophers had, they used to discuss these questions and queries with their disciples. So, poetics is not only a text written by Aristotle, but poetics is actually an answer to one of the queries that was raised, an answer to one of the issues that was raised by Plato in his very famous text called the Republic. In Republic, Plato mentioning the idea of ideal state, and please understand, my friends, whatever Greek philosophers did, they wrote whatever they decided, whatever they planned, whatever they executed, all those ideas for making a society or a state as a civilized society or a civilized state. So, if you see very carefully how this particular book or particular text appeared, Plato, in his book called The Republic, as I think I have said little bit things when we are offline in an offline classroom during the last academic year, where I have started just about drama and we talked about tragedy, where the issue of Aristotle and Aristotle's definition of tragedy, all those things came into discussion while we are in the classroom. Now we are discussing that whole issue very in detail in this essay. So Plato, while making it as an ideal state, I'm not going to discuss whole republic with you, just giving an idea that why Aristotle answered his own teacher in this particular text called Poetics. Very interestingly, Plato mentioned in the Republic that if you want to have an ideal state, it is important that there should not be any place for the people who simply try to live in an imaginary world, especially the poets. Because if the poets were living in an imaginary world, they are going to make the things which are not real in itself. What claim Plato had in his Republic is these poets, they always used to bring the things which are not related with the lives of the people living in the society. Now, please remember one thing. Please remember one thing in the whole lectures of poetics, you will able to understand you have to follow certain thing. Uh, if you see very carefully, poets doesn't mean the person who writes poetry only. Poets mean the artists, the creative people, the person who used to create something. In that sense, the word poet is used in Republic. Why artists? Why these creative people? What he is saying that these artists, these poets, they live in an imaginary world. Why Plato was claiming? Because Plato used to say that these people, whatever they used to build, whatever they used to develop, this development or these things they used to create, it is always thrice away from reality. It is not original one. How it is thrice away from reality? Because if you see very carefully, this particular artist, suppose, for example, the example was given in Republic also by Plato, that if a person, for example, makes a table, a carpenter makes a table. Now, this table which the carpenter made, this table is actually not the real one. It is thrice away from the reality. What is the thrice away? Why it is thrice away from the reality? The first thing that this table was somewhere made by some place which was seen by someone. Again, hypothetically, that is that you have to imagine, that you have to understand the fact that although you don't believe in God, or whether you believe in God, that is another thing. But if you say that if the table is made somewhere and they have seen that table, the first production was made by some unknown person, unknown authority. Someone has seen it and drawn it in his mind about the picture, drawn the picture that, okay, I have seen that. While making it, I have to draw my own picture, and I have drawn my picture. That is the second thing. First, it is made somewhere which you have seen, you decided to make it, so you draw a picture of it. That is the second thing. And then you have executed it, it comes into real. That is, it is third attempt. It is a third thing that is coming into existence. That means every creative thing that appears in front of you in a state, this was created by a person who imagines it. And imagination, because till that time psychoanalysis and psychology was not part of any understanding of the society. So what subconscious and what things kept in subconscious mind, and what things are part of subconscious mind, we can able to discuss right now, and we can understand it with that with that notion today. But when Plato wrote Republic somewhere around 524 BC, around that particular play time, maybe my dates wrong, but 4th century BC, 5th century BC, when he discussed all those things at that time, this concept of uh, psychoanalysis and psychology was not part of it. And that's why I said something is in your imaginary world. How you imagine, because you have seen somewhere, you have seen that thing somewhere. Now, where somewhere it is not clearly mentioned. But somewhere you have seen that thing, so you imagine it, and after this imagination, you try to bring it into real life. That's why every creativity, every writing, every text, every creative work is thrice away from reality. And this thing which is thrice away from reality, based on certain lies, not truth. Those things which are based on certain lie, because what you imagine need not to have any authenticity. And that's why once the thing which is not having any authenticity in itself, that thing doesn't have any chance to stay in an ideal republic. And that's why in an ideal state, what Plato says, that no poet can live in his ideal state. Remove the poets from the ideal states, because they are simply spreading lies. They are simply trying to bring the things which are not in anywhere existing. It's an imagination, and that's why he's saying that it should be taken away from the ideal state. It should not be part of an ideal state, and that's why what happened, my friend. This was the notion kept by Plato. Now, to answer this, you need to answer this whether this is right or wrong. And as I said, Greek society was the first society in European culture where the idea of dissent and idea of democracy was part of their own routine life. And in their part of routine life, the idea of democracy where you are having a chance to dissent, to disagree on certain things. Aristotle, being the student of Plato, disagrees with this notion of Plato that every creative thing is thrice away from reality, and that's why the poet should not allow to stay in an ideal state or in an ideal society. To answer this, Aristotle wrote the whole book called Poetics. This was the reason that Aristotle wrote Poetics. Now, in this contemporary, near contemporary account of this classical Greek tragedy, Aristotle in Poetics examines the dramatic element to convince that creativity is not simply lie. It is a complete process. And that's why Aristotle examines the whole dramatic elements of plot, character, language, and spectacle, which combinedly produce pity and fear in the audience. And he asks why we derive pleasure from apparently this painful process. And to prove all those things, he has taken examples from the plays of Achilles, Sophocles, Euripides. And what is the importance of this particular book? That this particular book introduced certain central concepts to literary criticism, certain important concepts like mimesis, which is called as an imitation, or hamartia, error, and catharsis, purification. And Aristotle in Poetics explains how the most effective tragedies rely on complication and resolution, recognition and reversal. And he pointed out that tragedy, while centering on characters of heroic stature, idealized nature of the hero, these tragedies are true to life. And that's why what the claim Plato wrote in his Republic, that poets used to lie rather than they used to write down true things of life. Aristotle denies the claim, saying that tragedy is true to life. And that's why this text, Poetics, is one of the most powerful, perceptive, and influential work of criticism in Western literary history. And after Poetics, the world comes to know about and started seriously thinking about drama. That's why when you talk about drama, when you read about tragedy, when you discuss anything about tragedy, you cannot avoid Aristotle and its work called Poetics. That's why Poetics is one of the most important. one of the most celebrated text of the time. And that's why we have started or we have decided to discuss this text with you for rest of the time. And that's why we are going to begin with this text from tomorrow onwards. I expect that we are surely going to join it sharp by 10:30 because it's an online platform. Because as usually we used to enter into the classroom little bit 10-15 minutes late, similar thing is happening here on online class also. Simply you have to sit at your home and start your app and enter into the classroom. So please try to be sharp at 10:30 into the classroom so that I can complete it by 11:30 because I have to move to the university for rest of the works. Okay, so for today I'm going to stop here. From tomorrow onwards we are going to begin with poetics. Is there any doubt, query about anything that I discussed today? We have only 2-3 minutes. Please tell me, my friends. Any doubt, any queries do you have? Because Noor had sent some messages on the chat box that her phone is not accepting, and that's why it is difficult for her to join into the class with having an iPad and iOS technology. So recording, so I have recorded the lecture. I'm trying to upload it afterwards so that you can able to watch it and so that I can send the link to those who are not present in the classroom. Yeah, any query, any doubt, please. Please speak something. Yeah. Uh, Poetics is sufficient, and even Prashant, if you want to access, there are thousands and thousands of pages available on internet regarding to the explanation of poetics itself. So need not to go for the other books, other text for understanding of poetics. That is sufficient. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Are you going to join tomorrow sharp by 10:30? Yeah. Hoping for the best. Thank you, friends. Tomorrow by 10:30. If there are any queries, you can send it on WhatsApp also on the same group that we have created yesterday. We have created the group yesterday. Yeah. So the group which we have created yesterday, please, if you have any queries, doubts, anything, what you have decided about the text for presentation and for your test, please put it on that group so that we can able to finalize it as early as possible. Okay. Thank you very, thank you very much, friends. Thank you.